Hello everybody and welcome to this lecture by the Vaidya's Chess Hub, and in this lecture I'm going to show you how to avoid the Schilling-Kostic gambit. And it is very important for white. If you are a beginner, if you're an intermediate player who's never seen this before, I bet you want to know this. So let's get started. The white player begins with e4, black responds e5, knight to f3, black responds knight to c6, and white plays bishop c4. Reasonable move, and this is known as the Italian game. And now it is here that black starts his clever plan, which is known as the Schilling-Kostic gambit. He plays knight to d4. Now, if you're seeing this for the first time, you must know that you would probably immediately, the first impression is to take on this pawn because it's just free. The knight was on the square c6 defending the pawn on the e5 square, but now the knight has hopped on to d4. You really are tempted to take the pawn. However, that is exactly what white player must not do, because here is what happens. If white falls for the trap and ends up accepting the gambit and plays knight takes e5, black immediately responds with queen g5, which is a double attack. The queen hits on the hanging g2 pawn as well as the hanging knight on e5 square. And clearly here black is better out of the opening. Just by playing fourth move queen g5, black is not just equal but in fact a little better than white in this position. Now if white tries to do you could say a quick calculation by hoping to take on f7 and then trapping the rook on the h8 square, this is what happens. So if the knight takes f7 indeed is played, black will continue with queen takes g2 with the immediate threat of queen takes h1 checkmate. Not checkmate, in fact, the bishop would hop in, but yes, a rook will be lost. So white would probably play rook to f1, trying to support it with the king. But now what follows is really interesting. Queen takes e4 check. Of course, white will not want to lose his queen to the knight, so white ends up playing bishop to e2. And now you can pause the video to find out what is the best move for black in this position. You can pause the video now. And if you had paused the video, I am very sure that you came up with knight f3 checkmate. Indeed, that is checkmate. Notice that this bishop here is pinned, so bishop cannot take the knight. So that is what can happen if you are not aware of this Schilling-Kostic gambit. However, I have done some searching in the database, and in the games of over 2000 rated players, it is not so popular at all. In fact, I could manage to get only a couple of games in which black actually tried this knight d4 idea, and in both the games white went on to win the game. In both the games white's response was knight takes d4, and after that they castled, and in one game c3 was played. But yes, over here it's not important to take on d4. White could also continue with moves like castle. White could continue with knight c3 immediately here. So those are the ideas for white to play, and after knight d4 white should really have a good game if he does not fall for this trap, where if he doesn't know, he could accept that e5 pawn and find himself in real trouble. So all in all, remember that this does not work. One more thing before we conclude is that after bishop c4 and knight to d4, let's say white takes the pawn e5 and black's typical move is queen g5, which is a double attack. Let's say if white decides to play bishop takes f7 check, the king then does not go to the d8 but to the e7 square, and so now he is in trouble here. because then the knight is hanging and then the bishop. So what happens is, if white is thinking that maybe I'll take the knight, and then after rook takes I will be able to do something about this knight here, that so does not work, because black would not take this bishop. If white here continues indeed with bishop takes knight, black what he would do is queen takes g2. Again the same idea here, and it is here that white will find his bishop. He'll miss his bishop. He'll find his bishop on g8, and it's mate in 2 here. Queen e2 and queen takes e2, checkmate. Let's do the sequence one more time. Knight 8, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. And if you come across this particular Schilling-Kostic gambit, you really ought to play one of the three moves I'm recommending here. You play knight takes d4, that's okay. You can continue with short castle, or you could play knight to c3, and believe me, white will have a very good game. It is only if white takes this particular pawn on e5 that black's plans will really fructify. Otherwise, white should go on to have a lovely game. I hope you enjoyed this. Please do study this. It's often found at the beginner and intermediate level, and as a surprise weapon certainly in blitz or rapid games. So take care, and hope that you enjoyed this lecture. As I keep saying, keep learning, keep enjoying chess, and keep learning. Thank you so much for watching this video. Feel free to leave your comments, and do subscribe if you like our efforts that we put in to promote and teach chess. Thank you once again for watching the video. Bye bye.